Hello folks. I make a video similar to this about every couple of years. It's about Harley twin cam engines. You know, twin cam 88. I think some were even made in 1992, but most were year 2000. You had the spring tensioners up till, I believe, the year 2006, or it might have been '07. Alright. The spring tensioners on the Harley TC88 engine, and some have been more their larger size twin cam. Okay, you have these spring tensioners, one behind the cam blade, sits on top of the chain for the two cams behind the cam blade. Then you got one in the front, pushes up against the chain on the front cam gear, and the crankshaft gear at the bottom. Okay, and you got that tensioner. People, here's something I'm going to tell you, and I can't believe in all these years no intelligent person has been able to figure out what I know. And I've tried to tell people, guys out there, if you ever have to take one of those cam cover off, take those tensioners off there and don't put them back on there. Because when the engineers made those gears and those chains, they never intended for a tensioner or something to be pushing against the non-tension side of those chains at all. This was done by marketing to get rid of the sonic hum, because of competition with Japanese motorcycles that ran quiet. See, like the Goldwing Honda. And they wanted to make that engine to where there was no lower sound at all, to where it was quiet. Because Harleys had always been renowned for having lower end sound, especially before the shovel, when you had the bayonet and the knucklehead. Yeah, those made a lot of cam area racket, But those tensioners are not necessary, people. They're not necessary. And no, they cannot jump out of time, because see, the engine turns clockwise from the right side of the Harley engine. Alright, the tension side on the right, the teeth at the top of the gear goes down to the teeth on the crankshaft, the bottom gear, the smaller gear. How's it going to slip out of time? Because it's still going to stay in that same amount of chain lengths on certain gear teeth for the way the timing was set. That's not going to change. Alright, can it wobble? Like I've heard some people say they can wobble. No, because each cam has two cam lobes. Okay, so there's always two cam lobes putting pressure, turning clockwise and putting pressure against a roller lifter, which has to push up, push a pushing rod, push a rocker, and push a valve spring down. Okay? Which is going to create back pressure to where that the chain cannot wobble. Because to wobble, something has to go back and forth, right? It's like a kid pedaling a bicycle. If they take their feet off the pedals, the chain or the gear in front by the pedals can start going back and forth slightly. That's wobble. But as long as their feet are on those pedals and they're pedaling, the chain cannot wobble on that bicycle. You see? Okay. Now, if those tensioners were needed, for example, haven't any of you people ever thought, mechanics or whatever, even though you're mechanics, you're not engineers, you're not mechanically inclined or knowledgeable. If those chains were so long that they had to have something push into the side of them to keep them from skipping teeth, don't you know that by now engineers would have offered a shorter chain to go on the gears to prevent that from happening? Don't you people know that? But see, that hasn't been done because it's not necessary. The engineers that made those gears in that chain in most precise measurements, they never intended or even knew those tensioners were going to be used on those. But they never knew it. And that was out of their hands anyway. You know, big dogs with lots of dollars, you know, in marketing, dealerships, they don't need to be on there, people. And not only that, but the tensioners being on there, here's what it happens. It makes it tight on the non-tension side to where oil can't get down between the teeth where the U shape is at the bottom. It wears, creates wear in the gears. Not at the teeth, but the bottom of the teeth where the link roller rides in from the chain and the U part. You can run those without tensioners, people. You don't need them. You know, my son's 2000 Dyna, it's got the TC88. The tensioner flipped down and it was scraping on the chain. I took the cam cover off. This was about 4 years ago. Alright, when I saw that, I took that tensioner off, and then I took the cam plate off, took the tensioner off that's on top of the chain for the rear cams, bolted it back up. I didn't put those tensioners back on there, people. I checked those gears to make sure that there was no wear, and the slack amount, the non-tension side had the right slack amount, which it's supposed to have, so you can get proper oil. See, between the teeth of the gears, the way the engineers designed them. Okay, my son has ridden that bike, that's been about 4 years ago, about 42,000 miles. He hasn't had any problem. I have an '02 Softail Custom. I took mine off just to check them. They were starting to wear down. I took them off. It doesn't have those tensioners, and none of you need them. That was just a marketing, you know, fluke or whatever. It was just a fluke, man, to get rid of sonic hum. You know, like, I have an '89 Cadillac Central Cam with timing chain and gear. 98 Dodge Ram pickup, 318 V8 with Central Cam with timing gears and chain. Those don't have tensioners on them. Because see, the non-tension side is supposed to be slightly loose. Because that way oil can get on it so it can lubricate between the teeth. It can't be pressed up against it tight, in other words. See, the tension side, you know, that's tight. So when it gets to the non-tension side, you have to have a little bit of slack. And the engineers knew this. Just like timing chain, the metal timing chains on cars, like the ones I have on the engine, to where oil gets on that gear, and then it takes it up over the teeth and to the teeth on the bottom. When are you guys, out of all the mechanics, and none of you have clicked in your brain and figured out, just leave those tensioners off there. Take them off. Leave them off. But anyway, you know, do what you will, people. Anybody puts comments arguing because they believe bogus market bullshit, I'm not going to argue with you. If you're a metals engineer and you look at those gears and they're mounted on one of those engines, that the tensioner push back, you will know the same thing I know. If you're a metals engineer in specifications like I am, okay? But anyway, y'all have a great day, and remember, Jesus Christ is our Savior. Bye-bye.